Hello, my name is Jack Rotolo, and I am a college chapter development consultant for the Bridge USA national team. Today I'm going to be leading a training in delegation and leadership, how you delegate, when to delegate, who to delegate to, and under what circumstances. Before we begin, let's keep in mind some guiding principles of leadership. When you have the respect and trust of your board will want to adopt the attitudes of their leaders. Set an example. As a leader, everything is your fault in the organization, and your successes are because of your team. Effective leaders are able to delegate duties to ensure a higher output and a success ratio for the organization. Empathetic leaders must look out for board members on an individual basis to ensure their needs are being met and to inspire the whole team. And as a Bridge USA chapter leader, you want to be both. You want to be both effective and empathetic, especially as a leader of a mission-driven organization such as Bridge USA. Want to find that sweet spot. And a good visualization of this, classic Venn diagram, find that middle spot. You can't be too empathetic, you can't be too effective, or else you'll start to alienate some of your board members. So find that sweet spot and drive forward. And as we continue this training, think about some of these questions. How should a leader act? What are some traits or practices a leader should embody? What traits and practices do you embody, and how can you improve upon those in the future? So, starting off here, the presidential mindset. The president is the center spoke of all operations. You're the center of outreach, marketing, discussions, events, operations. You make sure the wheel goes round. So you want to be future-focused and think big. Be confident in your delegation and decision practices. Provide connection to the Bridge USA pillars, which of course are ideological diversity, solution-oriented political culture, and constructive engagement. Understand your campus and tailor chapter operations to the norms of your campus. There is no one-size-fits-all Bridge USA chapter. Every chapter is different, and it depends on how your college or how your university is organized, if it's public, private, left, right. Just know your campus and tailor your operations to your campus. Reflect on the past to focus on the future. You want to make sure you're reflecting on your past successes and failures and applying those to the future to make sure you can be successful in the future. Develop best practices that can be replicated in the future. Maintain momentum and inspire others. Apply the appropriate pressure and sustain that momentum of your pressure. A lot of chapters sometimes forget to sustain the pressure of success, essentially. They might have a good event one day, and then they'll just forget about it the next week. You want to make sure you're sustaining that momentum and driving that chapter forward. You want to make sure you're inspiring your board to act independently and to find agency within themselves and agency within the mission. You cannot run a chapter if it's just you running the chapter. Every board member is running the chapter just as equally as you are. So that was the presidential mindset. Now let's talk about how we're going to delegate. So we want to delegate effectively. As a leader, you cannot and should not do everything. You want to make sure the wheel that, speaking in the last slide, the center spoke, you want to make sure you're the center spoke, make sure that wheel goes round. So you don't want to do everything. You can't stretch yourself thin. So make sure you're delegating. Success lies in delegating and trusting others. Trust is an important factor here. You have to trust your board members to do the tasks. And we'll talk about delegating effectively and what tasks to delegate in just a minute. You should not delegate something that you would not complete on your own. You want to delegate with empathy, understand what level of work your board members can undertake and what certain board members' needs and desires are. This especially can help in identify what to delegate to who. Allow your board members to learn from their mistakes as well. You cannot hold their hand the entire time. If they need to learn from something, it might be best to let them fail sometimes, and then you don't have to hold their hand, but tell them what happened, why it didn't work out the way they wanted it to work out, and then help them move forward, help them drive forward and right that wrong. So, alongside delegating with empathy, you want to delegate with effectiveness. Delegate tasks in a timely manner and according to each person's abilities and roles within the organization. Prioritize tasks to ensure timely completion and set completion dates for tasks. Here you can see a little flow chart of the delegation process. Step number 1, choose the appropriate task to delegate. Step number 2, choose the appropriate person to give to that task. Step number 3, set clear goals and objectives. When you want that task done, what is entailed in that task, Number 4, implement and monitor that delegating process. Once that task has been delegated to that board member, monitor the results, monitor the progress of completing that task. And then number 5, evaluate or review. You just want to make sure you're not entirely stepping back from the process. Just because you're delegating a task does not mean you're still not involved in whatever that task is. You want to make sure there's still a collective voice driving towards that final product. Alongside with delegating effectively and empathetically is motivating your board members. You can't delegate, you can't run an organization without having board members that are part of the organization feel valued and feel honored to be a part of a British USA chapter. So to do that, you want to schedule frequent one-on-ones with your officers, go out to lunch, go out for a coffee, understand and inquire about their needs, what you can do to help them if they're struggling, really have that conversation with them and find a path forward to make sure your chapter can be very successful and you're not overworking or underworking your board members. Understand your board members' motivations. Why are they in Bridge? What is their backstory? And then take that information and think about how you can place them accordingly or delegate certain tasks to them. If someone is very interested or has a passion about marketing or poster creation or something like that, that's a good example of who you would delegate that task to of creating a poster for an event. Along with motivating your board members, delegating effectively and empathetically, you don't want to overwork or underwork your board members because both can cause problems for your board members' motivations over time and both can make your board members feel undervalued. So don't overwork them. This is a non-profit organization we're running. No one's getting paid. And don't underwork them because if you underwork them, then they're not going to feel valued or a part of the organization. And to kind of motivate board members' activity within the chapter, you might want to think about implementing reward systems, have group bonding sessions, go out to a restaurant, get ice cream, go bowling, anything fun like that. It doesn't have to be chapter related, but this is chapter related in the terms that it's a board bonding activity and bringing your community closer within your chapter. So this is a great use of Divvy funds if you have not done this already. Another thing you want to think about is being a boss versus a leader. They're not the same. You want to bring your passion to the forefront and others will follow. Like I said, no one's getting paid here. Make an effort to be seen as a colleague, not a boss. Show appreciation for their work and efforts and approach them as an equal in problem-solving situations. Take your time to check in how they're doing personally and professionally. And remember that Bridge USA is not a business. Everyone at the chapter is volunteering their time for the greater mission, and you should recognize that. So, as we've talked about, a lot of delegation practices, presidential mindsets, and how to delegate responsibly, meaning effective and empathetic at the same time. Let's continue on with this knowledge check. So, why should you delegate a task to a board member? There's 4 options here. I'm going to pause the screen after I read the options and reveal the answers. So if you'd like to pause the screen after I say the answers, feel free. Why should you delegate a task to a board member? Option A, because they have 4 quizzes and a paper due that week. B, another board member cannot complete the task, so you delegate the task to a new board member instead. C, they're able to complete the task and they're the best person to complete the task. Or D, they have an abundance of free time. So feel free to pause the video now before I reveal the answer. Okay, the answer is going to be C. They're able to complete the task and they're the best person to complete the task. That's how you want to delegate a task to a board member. Not because they have an abundance of free time, not because they might be the best person for the task. Just because they're the best person for the task doesn't mean you should do that, because what if they have 4 quizzes and a paper that week? Just delegate responsibly. It's pretty intuitive for the most part, but just understand their schedules and ask if they're able to complete the task, and ask if their skills are the right skills to complete the task as well. So that completes our training here today on delegation and leadership. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or anyone else in the national team, and we can find the right answers for you. So thank you very much, and have a great day.